Welcome back to another video. In this video, we'll be talking to one of my really good friends, Chelsea. She's a person that I know here in the Atlanta community who's about holistic health, spirituality, and women's empowerment. And I'm just an eclectic person who likes to talk to very different types of people. So I thought this conversation would be fun to share. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts. Obviously, give us some positive signals like subscribe, comment, XYZ. You guys know the drill.
My name's Chelsea. I have a background in nutrition, holistic health, embodiment with women, tantric, plant-based, raw food making, specifically desserts that are gluten-free as well. And I love all things nature and the earth, and painting.
Beautiful. Seems like you have a lot of eclectic interests and things that I particularly am interested in, want to hear more about. So first, let's start with your upbringing. When did you kind of get into these interests, like more holistic interests and all of that, and how did it come about?
I grew up playing soccer and I also did dance. So I have a background in
moving.
Yeah, moving. And then I also grew up playing outside and being barefoot, like a lot of us.
That's always nice.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot of us anymore, because our generation, the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, are just on their iPads all the time.
That's true. Yeah.
Touch grass, kids. Touch grass. Sorry, go ahead.
Get your feet on the earth. But yeah, probably I would say in college, I got introduced to meditating with a group of friends, and it just opened me up to this whole other world. And then I also started doing yoga. So I had both of those niches that I started practicing, and then it further developed from there.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And I remember going to one of your tantric workshops.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about your kind of leading capacity within women's health, as well as just love and intimacy and all of that? I know that you're kind of a leader in the community for those specific subjects. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the workshop that Tim came to was a tantric breathwork workshop, and we also did tantric movement and some meditation, but it was supposed to get you into the body, out of your head and into your body and into your heart, so to connect you to the senses. And yeah.
Do you feel like a lot of us in our modern world are in our heads?
I do. I feel like we operate a lot from the mental plane, and we forget to go back into our bodies and feel.
How important is that to a person? What does it help with? Not being so much in your head, more feeling.
I feel like it helps relationships of all kinds, for one, because if you're just operating from the mental plane, you're not hearing and feeling what the person is saying, because you can hear all day long, but if you're not actually feeling and empathizing with them, it's going to create, the person's not going to feel as connected to you. It's going to create a disconnection.
Got it.
To all areas.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into a very nuanced subject. What does love mean to you?
Okay. Love, that's a very deep question.
You're the person to answer it, though, I feel.
I feel like love is really something... when I think of love, I think of my grandma, for one. Whenever I stood near her, I remember she was Slovakian and my grandpa was Polish, and we used to visit their house in Jersey and drive up there once or twice a year, and it felt like a second home. And she always used to make pierogi and a bunch of that type of food from my mom's side of the culture, and I always remember going near her and feeling warmth. And I feel like love to me is something where you feel warm and cozy, and you can be yourself, and it feels like a nice hug. Got it.
And would you extrapolate that towards intimate relationships and platonic relationships, or is there a difference between those when it comes to love?
There's definitely a difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like the more intimate relationships I feel is deeper, and like you can still have that depth, but you're going into those intimate spaces together, like with one another.
Do you feel like our current society like lacks that intimacy? Do you think it's harder to love like in our like current society?
I feel like it makes it more challenging. Yeah.
What specifically?
Probably just how things are structured right now in the world. It makes it harder to almost connect with people on that deeper level because, like you said, a lot of people are more heady, and to actually go into like a deeper conversation with them, it feels like more people operate from the surface instead of like going into the depth with each other. And in an intimate relationship, you're going into those deep waters together, which not everybody wants to do.
What's your stance on like polyamory versus being monogamous and all of those like relationship types? I know it's obviously like an interesting conversation, but I feel like you're a good person to answer it.
Yeah, I feel like it's different for every person. I think it's really based on your relationship container and what works for you. And I feel like back in the day, we were a lot more, when we were living in tribes, we were probably more polyamorous. And then when you were in the sacred container and like having a child together, you would be more monogamous, and then maybe it would shift after that, after the child got to a certain age. So I really feel like you can make up the rules in your relationship, and whatever works for you is beautiful.
Agreed. I think a lot of life should be just based on your own individual experience. And I feel like a lot of people kind of go into relationships because they don't want to go into themselves and like really kind of like learn who they are. They're kind of a little bit scared of that. And at the end of the day, I feel like all we have is ourselves. Not in obviously we have our communities, we have our families, but like you are in your body like 24/7 for your remainder of your life. Why not maximize like your relationship to yourself?
Yeah.
Like, how have you grown to like kind of know yourself and understand who you are as a person?
I feel like the biggest marker in my journey for what kicked off like deeper healing within me was when I moved out to California, and I was married at the time, and I needed to heal. I had like some trauma that was repressed that resurfaced, and I was having like some flashbacks and stuff without going too deep into it. And what healed me the most was the earth. I started working on an organic farm, and literally death and rebirth happens like through the seeds and the planting, and then it dies, and then you're like composting, and my hands were in the earth, and I like went home and I had dirt like in every crevice, and I loved it.
How long did you do that for?
About 2 years in California, and
So like living on a farm, and
I didn't live. I lived actually in the countryside, and then I would drive into work and work on the farm every day when the sun rose. And
wow,
yeah,
I could see how connected you were to the earth, and I'm sure still are. So like, how does that affect like a person being more connected to the earth? Like a regular person, let's say, who's like living in the city, maybe they go to the park once a week or something like that, but outside of that, you know, they're kind of indoors and doing their own thing. But how would connecting more with nature help that person?
I feel like even if you just have a moment and you can like touch a leaf or a tree, like if you live in the city, that's enough. If you can't always get out into nature, because not everybody can, and it's immediate, like you feel it, and then it just brings you back into your body if you're like breathing and tapped in and tuned in to yourself, and it's gonna ground you because it's just in our skin, it's in our cells. But I feel like it's very important to get out into nature, and it's so healing, and you can just feel the groundedness in your body. And like if you take a hike and you're going through all the greenery right now in Atlanta, Georgia, you get washed over and cleansed as you're moving through the forest. And then you get to the water, and then you're like cleansing even more, and you're like, wow, why was I feeling whatever I was feeling?
I love that. Are you into astrology at all?
Yes.
Okay, that's super cool. I've sort of been into astrology growing up. Like I would try to like recognize different elemental signs within my friends and like kind of see patterns. And that's kind of like what made me intellectually curious about the subject. But I've never completely dove into it. I will say like I could conversate about it and not seem like an idiot, but like I'm not an expert at it. But how is your like expertise on it? Would you say you kind of like really know it, or what? Yeah, what level of understanding?
I like seeing patterns in it too. We both have the same moon sign, actually.
Oh, sweet.
But I would say I'm like, I'm not advanced, but I can read it and I can talk about deeper topics, but I still have a lot to learn. Yeah.
Got it. Let's break it down for someone who just like is a novice and like completely new to the subject. So what is astrology like on a topic level? Like how would you explain it?
Astrology, I feel, is very misunderstood, and a lot of people would say that maybe it's woo-woo. However, it's actually very scientific and mathematical, and you can see, like you said, Tim, all the patterns. You can see psychological patterns. You can see where there's trauma. You can see where you can make money and career. You can see where you could meet someone, a fated meeting. You could see stuff about love. You can see your deep roots for your upbringing, and where you're meant to, like your north and south node, what you're moving away from and you're meant to move into in this lifetime. So there's so much in there.
I think there's a saying, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. So
I like that.
Yeah, it's really because astrology also gives you some insight into like how groups of people may interact within a certain time frame through like planetary ingresses or things like that, how the planet is like shifting, planets are shifting, and that may affect, let's say, like a collective population or whatnot. Also the moon, I think the moon is very interesting as a subject because first, like we are made of 70% of water, and if you look at the moon, it obviously changes how water is gravitationally pulled right through the oceans and all of that. So first, let's talk about like the moon. Like, what's up with that? Like, what are full moons? What are new moons? And how do people use that?
Yeah. I love that. I grew up near the ocean, so the moon was definitely a thing. Like you could go out, see the full moon, and then it also affected the tides. So we were always paying attention to that. And the moon definitely does affect us. We do have so much water in our bodies. We're made up of that. So paying attention to the moon, you can do a lot of things around it. You can plant a seed during a new moon, and then on a full moon, you're reaping the benefits of a seed you planted. And then you can look back in journals and see, oh my gosh, I planted this seed this time another year, and now I'm like living it.
So new moons are for planting new seeds?
Yes.
And then full moons are for like releasing?
Yeah,
like
I would say releasing, cleansing, and I usually stay indoors and like take a bath or something.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so now let's break down the astrology stuff again. So topically, you mentioned that it's like where the planets are placed when you're born. And in order for someone to kind of like understand an astrological chart, or I think they call it natal charts, you need like location of birth, time, and then date.
Date of birth, yeah.
Okay, so essentially, like essentially it's, I feel like your birth certificate for the universe.
Yes.
Essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all essentially unique.
Little thumbprint.
Thumbprint in the universe. Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the components that make up a chart, like you have the planets and the houses. So how do those work, and like what do those mean?
All the houses, there's 12 houses, they all mean something different. And then based on where your planets and asteroids, I also look at asteroids and use those, where they fall in your chart, they all mean something different. That's why it's like a little thumbprint or a blueprint for each of us. And that's why we're all so unique and what makes us so different from one another and also similar. And so really you're just looking to see like the moon sign, like we both have a Gemini moon in our Western chart. In our Eastern chart, our moons are Taurus.
Wait, can we explain that? Like Western versus Eastern? Like,
Sure.
yeah, go ahead. I'm so interested.
I'll touch upon it briefly. I have been more into my Vedic chart, and like the Vedic is in the East, and so
this is like India, Asia, kind of like
where they usually read charts at birth, and then they'll map out like the person's chart for their life, and they can tell you like your career, they can tell all this stuff from reading your chart, which is so fascinating. And your dharma is held in the Vedic chart.
What does dharma mean?
Oh, dharma is I feel like everyone's gonna have a different definition, but that's probably, to me, I'm like at a loss for words. Something you're meant to carry out in this lifetime that's like a higher purpose than yourself for the collective.
Kind of like your mission.
Yeah.
Or purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Sorry, we're continuing on Eastern versus Western. We're just going down some rabbit holes. This is what happens when you put two Gemini moons
right
in the same
I know, I got lost a little
vicinity.
bit.
No worries, I'm dragging us back. All right, so East versus West, what's the difference? Vedic versus Western astrology.
The Western chart, I would say, is more like psychology based on the person, so you can see more of their like psychology at that level. And then the Vedic chart, like I said, you can read like what is going to play out in the person's life, and you can look for that. And it also is what's current in the sky. So the planets where they're in the sky right now is Vedic.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you're leaning more into the Vedic right now, like that's.
I am, yeah.
But you still know about the Western.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know both.
Are you into any other like, let's say like analytical approaches to like humans? For example, like human design's another one that I've heard of. People, the Myers-Briggs test. Like, are you into any of those?
I like human design. I haven't dove too deep into that one. Do you know what your
manifesting generator or something?
Okay.
One of my mentors,
that makes
like,
sense for your work ethic.
I hope so.
Yeah.
One of my mentors has helped me walk through it. She has a recording for me, but
That's cool.
I'm not too familiar with those. I've just been more into astrology lately.
Same.
So just to leave out on astrology, what are the planets mean? Like how do those differentiate?
So like I would say there's like a shadow side and a light side to all of the planets, such as everything in life. So like Uranus, for instance, could mean on a higher level like electric, and you could have like an electric chemistry with someone. And then the shadow side, it could be creating chaos. So if it falls like if you're dating someone and it falls in your 4th house of home and they have Uranus there, it could mean that your home life with that person might be chaotic. You could feel electricity when you meet them, but then like long term, it might not be a good match.
Got it. And just for like everybody's like insight, I feel like astrology there's math to it, but in just like math, like there's probability, right? Like nothing is certain. Like we're not omnipotent. We're just trying to, as an astrological lens, you're looking at things and trying to predict with the certain variables that you have. So like, just so that people know we're not like trying to predict and be prophets or whatnot.
No.
But in general, astrology is a very fascinating subject, and I genuinely like talking about it with like people, and usually it's girls that are like good at it, so like that just kind of happens to be. the trend. But I would love to do some rapid fire questions with you real quick to close it out.
Sounds good.
So one is, what does faith mean to you, and how does it play in your life?
Right now I'm reading the book Rich and Righteous for rewiring my money mindset, and there's a lot of quotes in there from the Bible, and it's brought me back into feeling more faith in my life and believing more in God and a higher power and myself, and just feeling that lightness again.
Oh, I love that.
You feel. Yeah.
Beautiful. What are your thoughts on Gen Z?
I think Gen Z is pretty great. I think that they offer a lot, and they have done a lot of healing at a earlier ages than other generations have done. And I also think they have room for receiving feedback as well.
Very nice. What is one thing that society needs right now?
I think society needs more understanding and love, and people realizing that they can speak up and get their point across and still do it with love and compassion, and you don't need to come across with hatred or criticism or shame or any of those vibrational frequencies that aren't going to make either person feel not good.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then what's just one general romantic advice you'll give to the audience?
Listen to your intuition. I feel like women a lot, I don't know about men, but I feel like women know pretty soon if that person is going to be a good match for them. And usually when we're younger, we have hushed that intuitive voice and turned a blind eye to it. And so listen when you hear it, and it will save you years of possibly more heartbreak and hardships.
From a guy's perspective, I would say, don't let your hormones be the only decision maker.
That's
listen to your intuition, your heart, see if that's right for you. But honestly, what do you think about? I know you mentioned marriage and whatnot. What do you think about marriage in this day and age? And is there a certain age that you think people should get married at?
I think people should wait to get married until after the age of 25, because your brain isn't fully developed until 25, and I think it's okay to wait. You don't need to get married too young, and you grow a lot too. And sometimes when you're with someone in those earlier 20 years, even like into your Saturn return around like 29, 30, 28, 29, 30, you're coming out of that, and then you're different again. So I would just say keep dating and keep getting to know the person, and till you come across money issues, conflict, like those big main things, traveling with them to see if they're actually a good match for you for life.
What does a Saturn return mean?
Saturn return is when Saturn revisits back around to when you were born, and it happens, it's like, I would say, a coming of age for people. Usually big life events happen during that time. So
is it always like around like their 29th birthday?
It's usually around, I would say, like you can start to feel it leading up like 27, 28, and then you're coming out of it like in your 30s.
Got it. So it's kind of like a major life change.
Major pivotal change, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And I think you mentioned like the South and North node being like the two like transition.
Yeah, transition.
Is that kind of like play into it at all?
It might, if Saturn is in a house or touching a house that it's in. So it could, but Saturn is like the teacher, and you learn lessons there. And if you don't listen, the lessons can be harder for you. So the North and South node, wherever that's placed in your chart, the south node is what we came into this life. In another life you could have already mastered, and you're meant to lean away from that and lean into your north node, which is the opposite sign, and you're meant to embrace more of that. And wherever it is in your chart, it will tell you more about what you're embodying.
What is your favorite sign?
I like a lot of, my moon is in my Vedic is Taurus, so I love Taurus. And then my psyche in my chart is Scorpio, so I love Scorpio. And I love Venusian, Scorpio, Leo. I love probably all the stuff, but I also love like really sensitive, like Cancerian energy. I think I have some good placements of water in mine. So really, people who I would jive with is like what I am more drawn to.
Kind of like a mixture of all the elements.
Yeah, a mixture, which I think is what we all like, because if we got one, it would be like...
It would be insane.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
too much.
Yeah, that would be actually a really funny, like, different universe. But yeah, last thing, do you want to say to the audience? Anything to close this out?
Yeah, I would say just be yourself, and don't be afraid to be yourself, because as you get older, it's just, and no one cares, and no one really knows what they're doing anyhow, and just bring more love into the interactions with people, and more grace and gentleness, and do what you want to do. Otherwise, we're going to get to the end of our life and we're going to have regrets. So don't live with regrets, and believe in yourself.
Great message.